Hey, I'm Decathlon Gamer, and this is the Road to the Record weekly review special for week 50 of the Gaming Decathlon competition. This week I brought in 3,033 points. Bit of a drop from last week, but considering we had a game retiring, a game that was our highest scoring game on the channel at the time, that among the active ones, so losing those points, that's not a big drop, especially considering we just topped 3,000 pretty much for the first time ever just a couple weeks ago. It is short of last week's best round score of 3,257 points. The current virtual best also seeing a drop with the retirement, but at 3,600, still not a bad total. And the all-time virtual best, small increase this week, 10 points higher at 6,285 points. Looking at the 10 games individually, breaking that down. Pro Cycling Manager 2019 in the career mode, 353 points, nearing last season's record. Plenty of seasons still left to cover, so that score will, that record will be broken soon. In the Stage Racer, 368 points, massive increase, and also we're in the middle of La Vuelta. Yes, we're near the end of the season. It's September, but there should be big points coming before the end of the race or at the end of the race, as long as we can hang on to a top 10 position. And this week we actually improved our position up to, 7th place? 6th place? Something like that now. So we're definitely going the right direction. We've picked up a couple positions at the least. Got a stage victory, took a second place at a stage this week, so things have gone well there. Could have gone very horribly. We actually did have a major crash in the rain late in a stage, lost a couple minutes with help from the team, a rare thing. We were able to claw that time back and get back to the peloton and not lose any time, and actually did gain a little bit of time on a few of the riders. In the Classics rider, finally jumped over 200 points. It is a decent increase, but not improving rapidly. We're still 100 points short of last week. I'm getting so little team support, and now that I'm in World Tour, instead of improving my position, I'm actually getting worse. In Continental Pro, I was dominating a lot of Classics races. Now that I'm in World Tour and on a very weak team, they want to send me to the Grand Tours where I don't stand a chance against the riders around me. So I'm actually having a lot of poor performances this season, and I can't wait to move on and start anew. I might not beat last season's record. I still have almost 100 points to go, so not look too good on that one. Motorsport Manager, no points this week. Tough battles, just outside of the points. It is what it is. In Rebel Incorporated, 640 points, 10 higher than a week ago. Cruising through the last few goes at it. We're getting 5-star, 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 starting to get some unlocked. I think we're almost ready to go back to Brutal. Maybe one more week of episodes, and we'll be about ready to try Brutal again. Rebel Cops will be retiring. We finished the mission. We got to 400 points. I think the game actually is just about done. There's only maybe 2 missions to go, and that's only half the points, and game done. But we are playing on normal difficulty. There are other achievements within the game, so I don't think I timed it right, calculated it right, going 50 points per mission. But I had no idea how many missions there were, and I'm still not sure that there's only a couple missions left. So I know we are going to be way under. We are near the end. It might be 3 missions. It might be 4 missions. Either way, it's definitely not going to be an additional 12 missions. No way is it 12 missions. We're very close to the end now. You can see it in the achievements. You can see it on the map that we're probably only a couple away. Despite that, I don't mind that we're only at 400 points, mainly just because there is a hard mode. There are other things that could accumulate points. So even though I wrapped up the series and we're done and we're at 400 points, the game's not mastered. Could it be higher than 400 score-wise? Sure, if I went back and recalculated everything, but I'm not going to do that. We'll leave that at 400 points, call it good, and we move on. Next week, those 400 points are going to get wiped out, so we're going to take another step backwards. We also did begin its replacement, which is Transport Fever 2. And I began that with a lot of content, 7 episodes this week. So I hammered out a lot of content for that one. It's a fun game, also a tough game. It's already accumulating points though, so we'll see not a massive drop in score, I think, next week. And next week I'm planning on doing 4 episodes for that one before we settle into 2 per week as the standard for new games. A long, popular series. Go with 2 episodes per week. So I don't think we'll see a massive drop in score next week, but it will be a little step back. So we'll see if we can get that back in other places and actually exceed the 30-33 that we have overall this week. Draft Esports Pro Basketball 2020. This is the new one, and this is where that replacement was. So as we took away... Oh gosh, what was it that just finished? It wasn't F1. It was... Draft Esports College Basketball. There you go. That was a massive drop in points. The College Basketball Series, its top score was 645. Last week, we had 585 points at the end of that season, so it wasn't a record-setting season, but it was definitely up there. That's almost 600 points that were wiped out. The new player came in with 151 points. Massive drop, and that's what we weren't able to cover. We actually had a really good scoring week, just couldn't cover that. Now, where do these 151 points come from? Well, let's break it down. Here is the scoring for Draft Esports Pro Basketball 2020. This is how I broke it down. So there are 5 different categories in which points come. It's a little more complicated than some of the other games in terms of scoring, but what can you do? The college basketball one was equally complicated in that matter. Here's how I broke it down. Regular season wins. Each and every win is worth 3 points. Technically, you could win 82 times. So there's a lot of points to be had, more than 200. However, in comparison, it's unlikely that you would see 82 wins in a season. The record all time is 71. That puts it at just over 200 points. 70 has happened twice, so we'll see if we can get near that. And one of those 2 times is not real. One of those 2 times was in this first season. The Lakers got 70 wins, matching what the Bulls did. The Warriors got 71 just a few years ago. So that's the benchmark there. Now, playoff seeding. Make the playoffs, whichever conference, which we play in the West, whichever conference, beginning at the 8th seed and then going upward towards the first seed. Each seed higher is worth 15 additional points. So if you get the 8th seed, you have 15 points. If you get the 7th, you have 30 points. And you're going to see here real quick that most of the points are directed towards postseason. In fact, all but 200 are. Playoff wins. For each win in the playoffs, of course, winning the championship would equal 16 wins. Exactly. 4 wins completes a series. So each win is worth 10 points in the playoff. So a lot more than the regular season evaluation for wins. If you win a round and move on to the next round, each conference round win has a value, but each one is worth more than the previous. 25 points for finishing off the first round, 50 for the second, 75 for winning the conference finals. Altogether, that's 150 points to get to the NBA championship. Plus the 12 wins that you would have had by that point, another 120 points there. And then whatever you had depending on what your seed was entering the playoffs. And finally, the championship. To win the championship, each time that you win the championship is worth 200 points. There is then an additional 50 permanent bonus. So your first championship will earn you 250 points. You'll keep 50 of those points on the board forever. You start the next season with 50 points. You win another championship, you get 250 points. But you'll keep 100 points, and so on. And now the target and getting to 1,000 should take 3 championships. But also, to get to 1,000, that third championship should happen with a 1 seed and a roughly 70 win season to get to 1,000. We won't necessarily get there, but that's the target I ended up setting, was 3 championships. 1 championship with a near perfect season right off the bat could put us at about 900 points. And then it's up to how many views we're getting, how well the series is doing, on whether I would want to continue the series after that and go for that second and third championship and try to get near 1,000 points. So, a lot to decide once that happens. But if and when it happens, that's when we decide. All those years that the college basketball won, we made a championship game, but we never actually won the championship. So, there's still a lot to expect to get to 3 championships, let alone even getting 1. Doesn't happen very often. We've got a long ways to go to get there. All right, now moving back into the 10 games this week. In PCM 18 in the career mode there, 296 points. Continue to make good quality gains. But like I've said many times, I quick sim a lot of races this season. And so I'm losing a lot of valuable points. But even when I quick sim, I'm still, most of the time, getting pretty decent results. So I'm still getting points, but not as many as I would be if I were racing every one of them. And that's why I'm not sure if I'll surpass the 439. Because we're at the same level. The team is only slightly better than it was a year ago, and I think the quick sim is hurting me more than the slightly better riders is helping me. Automation Empire, 150 points, no change from last week. Main reason for that, though, was where I was to the next level. There was a lot to do to get there, and I'm focusing on those things. And I'm saving the research points for some really big upgrades. So I haven't touched the scoring on that one this week, but I think next week we'll see a good jump in that score. Football Manager 2020, 10 points, 2 wins, a draw. Good totals there. That's in four matches. So no, that's only in a few matches. This week was a good week. I think that was 4. That was 4 matches. Sorry. In 4 matches, 10 points in 4 matches is good for a mid-level team like Swansea City. And we continue to progress through the season nicely. When the FA Cup kicks off later in the month, a couple episodes away, we'll see that score jump a little bit because the FA Cup scoring will kick in. Right now we have a base score for being in the championship of 400. Remember, initially, a couple years ago, FM 2018, it was technically where the series started, and we started down in the 7th tier. We've made our way up to the 2nd tier. So this series started in the 2nd tier, and so we have that base score to go off of. Terms of where we have the 37, that's how many points we've scored on the season. League Cup, we lost right off the bat. Didn't even get through the first round, so there was no score within that. Yeah, that sucked. Actually should have had... I think, yeah... I was already technically in a certain round, and just by participation, I should have gotten points for being in that round, and maybe Maybe I need to go back and add that in because that's the way the rules are set up. But I didn't even win my first match in the tournament, so I just gave myself no points at all. But technically I was already in a round by being a championship team. I had skipped over a couple rounds, and so I should technically have the points for being there. That's the reward for working your way up to championship. The round you're in is the round you're in. Technically, you passed the previous round. The FA Cup, same thing's going to happen when I get there and begin with that, but I don't count those points until that round kicks off and I'm still in it. But anyway, that score will jump, and I think I need to go back and add those League Cup points in. Even though we lost our first match, we still joined the tournament at round X, whatever that was, I think into round 1, past the last qualifying round, or maybe it was round 2, 3, I don't know how they do that one. It would be a lot easier if they all just went round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but they don't. They do qualifying. Round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it gets a little tricky. But anyway, I digress. This week, 3,033 points. I'm glad we were able to stay above 3,000 after retiring almost 600 points. So it was a good week for us. Continue to make progress in almost all the games, and I welcomed another new game to the channel, 2 in the last 2 weeks, and they're off to good starts. Not as great as I would hope, but also this week I topped 700 subs, so thank you, especially if you're one of the new ones, thank you, and if you're not, if you're one of the long-term ones, again, thank you. It's nice to hit that mark. We're approaching 750. We're getting closer to 1,000. And of course, if you have not heard me say it before, that has been my long-term goal for, well, a long term. So I'm eager to see that mark hit. But that's going to do it for this review special. On the all-time virtual best side, no changes, just 10 points within the top 10 with Rebel Inc. And outside of the top 10, a new 14th place with newly retired now, this week, Rebel Cops. So that's going to go right back off the chart. But now, even outside of the top 10, everything is 400 or above. The one that it replaced, Stage Racer, at 368 this week. The record was 388 last season. I could see that record being broken very soon. I don't know if we'll hit 400 next week, but it should be right back onto the charts and moving up the order pretty soon and cracking the top 10 probably this season. I would imagine I'll get enough points to get 444 or better. But again, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Have a good one. Happy holidays, though we still have a little bit of time to certain key holidays, but happy holidays nonetheless. Bye for now.